Apollo had a twin.
She was a woman named Artemis, goddess of the moon.
We are returning to the moon.
As a new generation of explorers, this time to stay.
And to prepare to achieve humanity's next journey of sending the first human missions to Mars.
We believe our course will redefine what is possible.
That we would discover life-saving,
Earth-changing science.
And that the challenges ahead will inspire generations.
This is our manifest.
For all who wondered if we could return.
For all who dreamed of pressing beyond.
This is your calling.
We go for all of America.
We go. We go as the Artemis generation.
We go.
Have you ever looked up at the night sky and thought, I wonder what's up there? Or even, how do we get up there? Well, this journey begins again, and I would like to share with you how NASA plans to return to the moon and beyond. Hello, my name is Alma, and I'd like to welcome you to Space Center Houston, where we bring space and people closer together. I'll be your mission briefing officer as we explore the exciting new missions that NASA and its partners have been working on since 2017, the first of which launched November 16, 2022. These missions are called the Artemis missions and will help us return to the moon, establish a long-term presence, and open the door to our neighboring planet, Mars. Now, your first question might be, why the name Artemis? The name was chosen due to its relation to the 17 different lunar missions that happened between 1967 and 1972. Does anyone recognize the phrase, one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind? You do? Those words were uttered by astronaut Neil Armstrong when he became the first man on the moon during the Apollo 11 mission. Apollo is the Greek god that represents, among other things, the sun. Now, Artemis is his twin sister. Does anyone know what celestial body Artemis represents? What? That's right, she represents the moon. So, since much of the information learned during the Apollo programs is now applied to the Artemis missions, it only makes sense that these two siblings work together to make the next great leap in space exploration. The name Artemis was also chosen to represent diversity, not just in Greek deities, but in crew selection. Artemis is going to be the program to put the first woman and first person of color on the moon. But we've already been to the moon, right? Why go back? Well, lunar missions can tell us many different things about our planet, our sun, and our whole solar system. During the Apollo missions, our time on the moon was very limited. Does anyone know how many humans have walked on the moon? Yes? That's right. Only 12 humans have walked on the moon, and in 6 relatively small locations. The total combined time of humans on the moon from all the past crewed missions is just 3 days, 8 hours, 26 minutes, and 22 seconds. That's 3 days over all of the past missions combined. It was the 70s, so that's definitely impressive, but still, not enough time for the proper research to be done. With the Artemis mission, that will include the Gateway Space Station and the Artemis Base Camp, where astronauts will be able to live on the moon for longer amounts of time, the amount of scientific research done will be significantly increased. You can learn more about the Apollo missions at the Starship Gallery and also view a model of the Apollo 17 capsule, which brought humans to the moon for the last crewed mission in over 50 years in 1972. The Gateway Space Station will orbit the moon for up to 15 years and allow humans to travel to and from the surface from the Artemis Base Camp. So, how will astronauts get from the Gateway to the base camp? Maybe they could jump? In order to do so, they will need a lunar lander named an HLS, or Human Landing System. NASA has partnered with several different companies to create different models of the lunar lander. SpaceX's Starship model won the contract for Artemis 3 and 4, and National Team's Blue Moon won the contract for Artemis 5. Just imagine a future where there are several different vehicles that you could use to get to the moon. The Artemis Base Camp will be located at the south of the moon, where scientists have long hypothesized the existence of water underneath the surface in the permanently shadowing regions. In 2008, a NASA instrument aboard the Chandrayaan, a spacecraft from the Indian Research and Space Organization, made the definitive discovery of ice. And where there is ice, there is... That's right. Where there is ice, there is water, or H2O, hydrogen and oxygen. If hydrogen and oxygen are resources on the moon, then long-term habitation is more than possible. So, now that I've talked about why we're going back, let's talk about how. Artemis 1, the first mission of the Artemis program, used both the SLS, Space Launch System, and Orion spacecraft to great success. NASA's contractors for the SLS rocket are Aerojet Rocketdyne, Boeing, and Northrop Grumman. Though these rockets are about 40 feet shorter than Apollo Saturn V, they use about 15% more thrust, this making them the most powerful rockets NASA has ever launched. This is necessary due to the 27 metric tons or 59,000 pounds of additional cargo that they carry. Orion is the next generation of space capsules designed to support astronauts for longer periods of time in space and allow for safer re-entry upon returning to Earth. NASA's main contractor for the Orion spacecraft is Lockheed Martin Space Systems Company. When you compare the Orion capsule to the Apollo spacecraft, you may notice an extra 100 cubic feet of interior space, making it 316 cubic feet in total. This extra habitational volume allows for the crew of the Artemis programs to be increased from 3 to 4. To give you a rough estimate of what that space is like, it's about the size of a standard bathroom that you're sharing with 3 other people for 24 hours up to a week. You can view models of both of those cutting-edge capsules in our Mission to Mars section of our main plaza. Launched in the early hours of November 16, 2022, Artemis 1's main goals were to ensure a safe crew module entry, descent, splashdown, and recovery. Along with sending the Orion spacecraft around the moon, the SLS rocket carried with it 10 additional satellites that performed their own scientific and technological research.
Stage engine start. 3, 2, 1. Boosters ignition. And liftoff of Artemis 1. We rise together back to the moon and beyond.
All 4 RS-25 engines on the core stage and 2 solid rocket boosters now propelling the vehicle at 128 miles per hour. Standing by for solid rocket booster jettison and shortly thereafter. And we have confirmation of core stage main engine cutoff. Orion is now in Earth's orbit. The flight dynamics officer reports that we have a nominal main engine cutoff. And we just heard the call for core stage separation. That means Orion and the entering cryogenic propulsion stage are now flying free from the core stage of the Space Launch System.
After its 1.4 million mile journey around the moon and back, the Orion capsule splashed down in the Pacific Ocean on December 11th, 2022, which was also the 50th anniversary of the Apollo 17 launch.
Chosen in play. Good nations of Orion.
China transported by truck from the San Diego Naval Base in California to the Multi-Payload Processing Center in Florida. The Orion capsule finally returned to the Kennedy Space Center on December 30th, 2022. Back at the Kennedy Space Center, payloads were removed from the Orion capsule as part of its deservicing operations. This includes the non-human crew that was aboard, which was Commander Moonikin Campos, European Space Agency's mission specialist, Sean the Sheep, and our very own pilot and zero-gravity indicator, Snoopy. Orion's thermal shield and other elements were also removed to be analyzed, the knowledge of which will be applied to Artemis 2. Artemis 2 is the second mission and first crewed mission of the Artemis program. Four astronauts, Commander Reed Weissman, pilot Victor Glover, and mission specialists Christina Cook and Jeremy Hansen will fly around the moon before returning back to Earth. This roughly 10-day-long mission is tentatively scheduled for April 2026. The Artemis 2 will continue to use both the SLS rocket and Orion spacecraft for this lunar flyby. During the flight, the crew and mission specialists will collect data on how the crew and the program interact to see whether or not Artemis is ready for a real lunar landing. But let me stress that these four will not be landing on the moon. They'll only be conducting lunar flyovers to test Orion systems in preparation for the big landing scheduled for the Artemis 3 mission, which will hopefully happen around 2027. So, how does JSC fit into all of this? Although all of the states in the US have participated in the Artemis program in some way, Texas, and specifically Johnson Space Center here in Houston, is especially vital to the program. JSC is home to both the Orion and Gateway development programs. The astronauts of Artemis 2 also call Houston home and use the JSC facilities to train. Like many other missions before, Artemis 2 will be operated from Johnson Space Center's Mission Control System. Whenever we go into space, the talented crew here at Johnson Space Center are keeping track of every detail. Although NASA is leading the charge of the Artemis program, partnerships with other countries and private companies are essential to the program. The Artemis Accords are a set of written statements initiated by NASA that are applicable to the peaceful exploration of the moon and beyond when humanity extends to Mars. The Accords set out the following principles, which is peaceful exploration of space, transparency, interoperability, emergency assistance, tracking of orbital debris, registration of space objects, preserving heritage, and deconfliction of activities. As of today, 53 countries have signed on to the Artemis Accords. Along with our international partnerships and private enterprise, the information we have learned and technological advancements we have made under the Artemis program will continue to shape the space program for years to come. NASA is encouraging its partners to work on developments that will contribute to the impact and success of the Artemis program, with programs like the Small Business Research Initiative, which will allow small businesses to participate in government-sponsored research. Another program is the Tipping Point program, which awards support to industry-developed space technologies that will create more commercial opportunities. Every single one of the United States has participated in the Artemis program in some way. This has created job growth, established new industries, and increased the demand for highly skilled workers. So who knows? One of you in the audience might be the one that helps us get to Mars. It is clear that whenever we go into space, we make it a better world back here on Earth. As you can see, the Artemis program is the beginning of a very exciting time in human spaceflight. It's a program that is designed to build off a great space legacy and create opportunities for both public and private enterprise. As you continue to explore the exhibits here at Space Center, I'm sure you will realize that Artemis is not only the first step in an exciting time in space exploration, but